Welcome, everyone. This is BFRM. I'm Nick.
And I'm Justin. Best Friends Review Movies.
Today, we are going to be discussing the not-so-delightful adaptation of Winnie the Pooh called Christopher Robin. The latest to be released in the live-action Disney remakes, and those are high-quality movies. So we're in for a real treat today. I didn't really like this movie, and I'm sure you feel the same, Justin. You didn't really like it either.
Well, it was very mediocre, unfortunately.
Yeah. I expected more, coming from the Disney brand.
And that's all I'm going to say about it. Good night, everybody.
That's it. That's all we need to say. I didn't think it was a boring movie. I could remember a couple scenes that I particularly liked, especially the intro. I thought was really clever in how they incorporated the classic Winnie the Pooh storybook. It was showing sequences of the pages coming to life and then cut to the real world setting. I think it was a good transition into what was to come.
While this movie does some things that are good in the way of emotional resonance, it is very clumsy, clunky. I'm not hating on Winnie the Pooh. Dude, Winnie's a gangster.
He's a straight-up G.
Winnie's a G. The main problem is Christopher Robin himself. And I think the premise of this movie, that it's based on Christopher Robin, the most boring character in all of Winnie the Pooh, was just a bad idea from the get-go.
Right. Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin trying to find Pooh's friends. They don't know where they are. And it's presented in a very realistic sense, since most of the movie takes place in the real world and not in the 100 Acre Woods. Unfortunately, all of the human characters really suffer from very underwhelming performances. All their emotions are dialed back. When someone sees that Pooh is talking, nobody really has a strong reaction to that. So it takes away from the creativity and the zaniness of the situation. So I believe that is the biggest problem with creating a movie centered around Christopher Robin.
I think the two major problems for me in this movie were that Christopher Robin was, for the most part, totally unlikable, totally unempathetic.
I would say he was apathetic at best.
Yes. And the visual design of this movie, it needed a lot of work. It's not a modern classic. It doesn't excel or exceed expectations. It plays it really safe. What I mean is that they really heavily rely on nostalgia.
I think that the people who were responsible for Christopher Robin's conception, they don't really understand what makes Winnie the Pooh a classic. Just showing the red balloon and just having a line like "silly old bear," I think they're missing the context of what made those lines so memorable. It's not presented in a very creative way. Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh are trying to get on the train, and then Winnie the Pooh is just like, "Oh, I see a red balloon. I want one." And then Christopher Robin, after some banter, he gives in. And then he's like, "Here you go, Pooh. Here's a red balloon." And then Pooh's like, "Thanks. I love this red balloon." And for people who aren't familiar with Winnie the Pooh, they'll think, why did they include this in the movie? They're not going to have any real connection to it. Pooh wanted a red balloon, so he got one. Great. The imagination is severely lacking.
Christopher Robin from the originals, he doesn't have a character. So they try to give him a character and they age him. They grow him up in this movie. Christopher Robin is a jerk as an adult. He's apathetic to others' feelings. He's socially awkward. When his neighbor tries to invite him for board game night, he just kind of waves him off and is like, "Oh, okay, yeah, all right, okay, bye."
Another example, I remember the wife saying something like, the only reason that she wants to go to Clayton Prep is because she'll do anything to impress you. And he's just like, well, Clayton Prep is the best school in England. I'm preparing her for the real world. This is what real fathers do. Again, I understand they're trying to make this movie very realistic. There's even a quote in the movie that sticks out in my mind. Dreams don't come from nothing. You have to work for them. that mantra is, in and of itself, isn't a bad mantra. I just think that Christopher Robin, the way he interacts with his family, he's just removed. You don't sense love coming from him towards his family. It just sounds like this is daughter character and I have to treat her like every other child in the world.
I want to talk about the character design. If you want to make a character look evil or menacing, you give them small, beady eyes. Maybe give them black, soulless eyes.
Right.
So in the original Winnie the Pooh, the books, because he's a drawing, Pooh's design is very simple. He just has dots for eyes. It's basically kind of a scribbly drawing. Translating that into hyper-realistic CGI where you can see every hair follicle, every patch of fur on Pooh, you can see individual particles. We start dipping into the uncanny valley territory where you look at Pooh and instead of being like, oh, this is a cute little bear that a little boy could grow attached to, it's like, oh, Jesus, this is fucking terrifying. One of the principles of animation is appeal. Is your character appealing to look at? Most of the stuffed animals have the little beady black soulless eyes, and then Tigger, for whatever reason, has really detailed green eyes with a pupil and an iris. Where is the consistency? Where is the art design that made all these things flow together?
It feels like each character was designed by a different person, and each person had their own vision of what the movie was going to look like. And so they just threw all these characters together, and that's why it feels so inconsistent.
On animated movies, usually every main character is assigned to a small team of animators, bring the character to motion. But they still are all supposed to work within the confines of the art direction. If you have a character that looks like he belongs in another movie without any explanation, then that is not consistent. That's jarring. I think it ties back into the main conflict of this movie's production, which I believe is you have one side that wants to make a Winnie the Pooh movie and another side that wants to make a gritty reinterpretation. The compromise was not met.
I think you can mix those two ideas and you could have a unique movie. However, they have so many cliche story points. Having a villain type character with the boss, Mr. Winslow, he's not really given any major development or strong motivation as to why he is the way he is. He's just sort of a smarmy guy. To just put a villain character in there for Christopher Robin to be against is very lazy, because really the main conflict is Christopher Robin's internal struggle. He has to find a balance between adult Christopher and childhood Christopher.
Any positives you want to talk about before we get into the final rating?
The voice cast, I thought, was really well done. The new voices they got, they did sound like the originals.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I actually really liked all the little traits that they gave the different characters. I liked how Tigger was so energized. He looks at his reflection in the mirror and he wants to fight him.
Yeah.
I'm the only Tigger. I'm the best one. I liked that little touch. I really liked Eeyore, how sassy he was.
Yeah.
And Pooh, you know, great job, Jim Cummings. You're a freaking legend in voice acting. I wouldn't expect anything less from you. I wish we would have gotten more with the other 100 Acre Woods characters. That was a really big missed opportunity.
Yeah.
We barely get any time with anybody except Pooh. And it's really a shame because there's so much creative potential with these characters and with these performances. They really deserved a better movie.
I actually thought Ewan McGregor, who plays Christopher Robin in this movie, he did a good job at selling what is a ridiculous role. And some of the dialogue they give him is just terrible. But I'm talking about his acting here, and he was engaging as Christopher Robin. The cinematography is beautiful in some scenes. There really are some great shots that are like money.
That whole dream sequence that Christopher Robin had, all of the insecurities that have been building, you're going to crack, your work is getting to you, you don't love your family. The way it's shot, drowning under the pressure of all these things going on in his head, I thought was extremely well done. It really showed us how Christopher Robin was feeling.
I think we should get into the final rating. So,
yeah, let's do it.
Final rating.
Well, given that there were some moments in this movie that I thought were well done, and some of the performances I thought were really solid, and the visual effects were good, despite the writing, I'm leaning towards the middle, but I think the problems sort of outweigh the good aspects of the movie. So I give Christopher Robin a 4.
Yeah, it's going to be a 5 out of 10 for me. The thing is, it's not a movie I would ever want to see again. Unfortunately, with these Disney remakes, it seems that they're not trying to improve on the original product. It just seems like they're cashing in on it.
Thanks for hearing two grown men talk about a movie that may not have been made for them. We had fun watching this movie. We had fun making this review.
Oh, we always have fun.
Definitely support our channel. Comment, like, subscribe. We will get back to you soon with more content. All right. Take care.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.